8 September 1936. Talk 245. Mrs. Gulabi and Shinbai Bairamji, two Parsi ladies, were asking questions round one central point. All their questions amounted to one. I understand that the self is beyond the ego. My knowledge is theoretical and not practical. How shall I gain practical realization of the self? Maharishi. Realization is nothing to be got afresh. It is already there. All that is necessary is to be rid of the thought, I have not realized. Devotee. Then one need not attempt it. Maharishi. No. Stillness of mind or peace is realization. There is no moment when the self is not. So long as there is doubt or the feeling of non realization, attempt must be made to rid oneself of these thoughts. The thoughts are due to identification of the self with the non self. When the non self disappears, the self alone remains. To make room anywhere, it is enough that things are removed from there. Room is not brought in afresh. Nay, more room is there even in cramping. Absence of thoughts doesn't mean a blank. There must be one to know the blank. Knowledge and ignorance are of the mind. They are born of duality. But the self is beyond knowledge and ignorance. It is light itself. There is no necessity to see the self with another self. There are no two selves. What is not self is not self. The non-self cannot see the self. The self has no sight or hearing. It lies beyond these, all alone, as pure consciousness. A woman with her necklace round her neck imagines that it has been lost and goes about searching for it until she is reminded of it by a friend. She has created her own sense of loss, her own anxiety of search, and then her own pleasure of recovery. Similarly, the self is all along there, whether you search for it or not. Again, just as the woman feels as if the lost necklace has been regained, so also the removal of ignorance and the cessation of false identification reveal the self which is always present, here and now. This is called realization. It is not new. It amounts to elimination of ignorance and nothing more. Blankness is the evil result of searching the mind. The mind must be cut off, root and branch. See who the thinker is, who the seeker is. Abide as the thinker, the seeker. All thoughts will disappear. Devotee. Then there will be the ego, the thinker. Maharishi. That ego is pure ego, purged of thoughts. It is the same as the self. So long as false identification persists, doubt will persist. Questions will arise. There will be no end of them. Doubts will cease only when the non-self is put an end to. That will result in realization of the self. There will remain no other there to doubt or ask. All these doubts should be solved within oneself. No amount of words will satisfy. Hold the thinker. Only when the thinker is not held do objects appear outside or doubts arise in the mind. Talk 246. Language is only a medium for communicating one's thoughts to another. It is called in only after thoughts arise. Other thoughts arise after the I thought rises. The I thought is the root of all conversation. When one remains without thinking, one understands another by means of the universal language of silence. Silence is ever speaking. It is a perennial flow of language. It is interrupted by speaking. These words obstruct that mute language. There is electricity flowing in a wire. With resistance to its passage, it glows as a lamp or revolves as a fan. In the wire, it remains as electric energy. Similarly, also, silence is the eternal flow of language, obstructed by words. What one fails to know by conversation extending to several years can be known in a trice in silence or in front of silence. Dakshinamurti and his four disciples. That is the highest and most effective language.